Last week, the federal government told Canadian travelers in Mexico to shelter in place after violence erupted following the arrest of a drug cartel boss. Also, parts of Jamaica are under a state of emergency due to increased violence and gang-related crime, and the risk level for Peru has also been raised. So for a closer look how to make informed travel decisions this afternoon, we're joined by Wayne Smith, director of the Ted Rogers School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at Toronto Metropolitan University. Professor Smith, glad you're here. When you go onto this page, the federal government page where it gives the travel warnings, it may come as a shock to people how many countries are under these travel warnings, but you need to dig a little deeper behind these warnings before you make travel plans, don't you?
Yeah, we're seeing geopolitical change all across the world right now, whether it be because of health reasons, whether it be because of geopolitical reasons, whether it be just because of the economies of the different places. It's really important to understand that when you're going to visit somewhere, you're under their rules, their visa, and they can change the rules as needed.
Yeah, and I mean, you look for example, under the high degree of caution, I just picked off 5 countries, Mexico, Bahamas, Dominican Republic, France, and UK. I mean, with March break coming up, all of them are under high degrees of caution for very different reasons here. So when it comes to planning your travel, is that something that people should really be factoring in when they're potentially looking at maybe getting insurance or cancellation insurance, or can you attribute canceling of a trip to federal government warnings to where you may be going?
No, you have to be very careful about which insurance you buy, travel insurance, because each one will have slightly different riders. So don't just assume the travel insurance that you have on your credit card, which is what a lot of people assume, is going to work for every situation. This is also where using a traditional travel agent is really helpful, because they can take you through the different insurance policies and be a person on the ground in case you need help.
And Professor, I mean, Mexico, as we know, it's a big country, just beneath the United States. And what's happening right now is really happening in Mazatlan, which is the northwestern part of the country, whereas a lot of Canadians go to sort of Cancun or the Mayan Riviera, as it were, which is really thousands of kilometers away from there. So when these travel warnings are there, you have to sort of take, not with a grain of salt, but you really have to be specific about where you may be going and what may be happening and where, correct?
Exactly. It's the same as something happening in Vancouver and assuming it's happening in Toronto. It's the same kind of difference. And the idea of it is you have to understand the environment that you're going into, where you're headed to, ensuring their safety is something that's really, really important to do before you leave, and making sure that where you're going, you're taking precautions that make sense for you. Make sure that you have copies. Make sure people know where you're going. Make sure you register with the embassy when you land if you can. All those things will really be helpful in case something does go wrong.
Do you think enough people really do take those precautions and do, follow that sort of guidance, or do most people, you think, just go, I'll be okay?
Well, most people, when they travel, take the idea that I'm going to have a fun time. I don't want to be thinking about these things. I don't want to think, do I need to keep a separate copy of my passport, or do I need a copy of all my prescriptions in case something goes wrong and I end up staying longer? Or do I need, a copy of, extra money available and all that type of things? Yeah, people don't think about that ahead of time because they're going for fun. They're going to enjoy themselves. These talks are really difficult to do, but it's important that you do think about this, especially in the changing environments that we're seeing right now.
Because, of course, you're in the hospitality and tourism management, side of the industry here. I mean, this is what you're the director of here. But I mean, I would assume like most resorts aren't sort of promoting the fact that, hey, there's a high degree of caution for travelers coming in. So it's really about people planning trips, doing their due diligence instead of the reverse and being told, correct?
Exactly. It's one of the things you almost have to assume that the rules are going to change on you. So it's one of those things. Make sure you're keeping informed. One of the things a lot of people don't understand is that the governments everywhere, they can change the rules at any moment, and it's not up to you. It doesn't matter if you're Canadian. If you're in the US or if you're in Mexico, it's their rules. So you have to follow them, and they expect you to know them.
Yeah, well, we know what happened during COVID just 3 years ago and all the border changes there. That is Wayne Smith, the director of the Ted Rogers School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at TMU. Good to talk to you this afternoon. Thanks for the time.
Thank you so much.